In today's show, we're going to show you how to cut and sew a block using the Go Palm die in a creative and fun colorway. Hey quilters, welcome to AccuQuilt Live. I'm Pam Heller, AccuQuilt's cutting expert. Thanks for joining us today. Emily's in the house. How are you, dear?
I'm doing fantastic.
It's been a long time since we've been here on a Wednesday.
I know, right? I'm so happy to be back, been traveling and
we did that great quilt along with AQS.
Yes, that was so much fun. And
now, I understand you have a little palm die block that you want to share. Let's see.
I sure did. And I realized that it actually kind of matches the packaging.
Oh, it does. Look at how pretty that is.
I just took some scrap fabric that I had, and believe it or not, these two fabrics that I used for the leaves, it's actually the same fabric. It's an ombre. So you kind of,
that's a great idea.
So it's kind of fun to have it, you know, in a little bit color shift, be able to kind of stand out against each other. So
there you go.
It was so easy to sew, and I feel like you would be very proud of me.
Yes, you did a good job pressing the seams open and all the things.
Exactly, we're learning.
We are. All right, well, where is everybody watching from today? Eva is watching from Ontario, Canada. Thanks for joining us. Julie's watching from Orlando, Florida. How fun is that? And Cassandra's just saying good afternoon. We're glad you're here.
Well, hello.
All right, let's showcase some of the new projects from our intro video. First up, okay, look at this from Rosita.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I love that teal color, right?
Yeah.
With the browns and the earthy tones.
That's so pretty and so beachy.
Oh, yes, it is beachy. And I do love the fact that the centers are the same, but then the outside of them are all different.
Exactly.
Great way to use your strip dies and squares, Rosita. Next up, we have Steve F. Look at this. Ooh. So strips. And do you know what this the block is in the center, Emily?
Yeah, it's that beautiful crazy quilt.
Yes. In those bright, bright colors.
I love the little black kind of sashing in between each block to give that illusion of kind of the stained glass window that they did. Like, Steve, well done.
Well done, Steve. All right, and last we have this great project from Ron. Okay, Ron for the win. This die just was released at the beginning of March.
Seriously, and am I seeing a familiarity to the quilt behind you as well?
It is. I love the fact that Ron took those quarter blocks and just put them together just like Gina did.
That was genius.
And I feel like he should send it to me because it's totally Halloween.
It totally is. Very like fall, autumny. Oh, love that. Yes.
I love it.
You quilt.
All right. All right, so since we're talking about the palm die and palm leaves, here is my photo of the day. So this is a beach in Florida that I took a couple of years ago. It was beautiful. I do love the beaches in Florida. And I love the fact that in Florida there's warm water and cold water, depending on which side of the state you're on. So the question of the day is, which beach is your favorite? And we had kind of a movie quote here from Brock, the movie he liked. What's the name of the movie, Brock? The Beach. The Beach.
Classic.
Check it out. We always have to talk about movies. Emily, do you have a favorite beach?
Yeah, I love, my parents had a house in Siesta Key for like a month a couple years ago, and that sand literally feels like walking on velvet.
Right.
I'd love to go back to that.
Kind of like those sugar white beaches in Destin, Florida. But my favorite beach actually is in the Pacific Northwest. There's one of my favorite places to go along the Oregon coast is Haystack Rock, which is huge. And as a child, I went there all the time. My family went there. And the water is really cold, and the Haystack Rock is kind of far away. But the last time I went, I traveled there for work. The tide was so low, you could walk to Haystack Rock. And it was the first time in my whole life that I was able to do that. It was beautiful. So in the comment section, what's your favorite beach? Hey, quilters, be sure and check out the AccuQuilt website for some great deals and discounts. And today I'm going to give away one of our Go Palm dies. Be sure and register for future events on the AccuQuilt event page for your chance to win. By registering, you'll receive event emails, and that way you'll never miss an exciting show. And Emily's going to announce the winner of our registered viewer at the end of today's show. So good luck with that. All right. The Go Palm Fire Throw Quilt is behind me, and it is a free pattern at AccuQuilt.com. You will need the Go Palm die and a 6x24 cutting mat. And then you will need a couple of different strip dies that are already in the pattern. So for today, for the project, you're going to need the palm die. You would need the 8-inch finished setting triangles, half haircuts of yellow, orange, and red, and then 2.5 yards of the background fabric, which I love because the background fabric is gray, and typically it's always white, right? Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the die. This is our new palm die, and the shapes are on a 6x24 die board, so it's gonna fit through all of our cutters, including that Go Me. You wanna make sure you use a 6x24 cutting mat. Now, the cool thing about this die is it's divided by colors. So these are going to be the color section of the block, and over here, these are the background colors. So I love the fact that it's divided by that, so you can just fan fold your fabric, because these are what we call directional shapes. Here's the block. You're gonna need a left and a right of each of the colors. And so to do that, you wanna fan fold your fabric, especially if you have patterned fabric. Now this one we made with solids, so I assume we did fan folding, but for sure you wanna make sure you're fan folding over the shape, all right? And AccuQuilt, because they're brilliant, we've cut off the dog ears and we have these specialized dog ears. So right from here to here is a perfect 1/4-inch seam. We've also screen printed the letters to help you keep track of your shapes, which is beautiful, okay? All right, so we're gonna lay some fabric down. We'll look at the block while we do it. So these are shapes C, E, G, and A. And they are the background fabric here in the white. But for Gina Jempasa wrote this pattern, and it's just fabulous. I'm gonna use gray, and it's a little hard to see on the gray die, but you wanna make sure you have that lengthwise grain towards these lengthwise blades. So I purposely kept the salvage edge on so you could see that this is the salvage. And you're just gonna subcut according to the pattern directions. But this is that lengthwise grain. Look, it's nice and tight. We talk about this all the time. If you cut this way, which is the bias edge, it's super stretchy, and you're not gonna get a good clean cut, okay? All right, and then today I just have, since I'm just doing one block, I'm just gonna lay my fabric over each of the shapes. So you're gonna need the red and the orange and the yellow, okay? And I'm gonna line them up here with these blades here on the top. I love this die because palms are so versatile. You can use them for summer themes, you can use them for spring.
Oh, totally. And they kind of almost remind me too of like the bird of paradise flower.
Oh, yes.
You know,
yes.
Especially in this beautiful colorway with the yellow and the red and the orange. It's just so sunny. And
all right, make sure you have a 6x24 cutting mat, okay? And I'm gonna use my Go Big today, but again, you could use any of our cutters, including that Go Me. And Emily, here just a second, we're gonna see if we have people's favorite beaches.
yes.
I feel like as we get closer to summer, right?
Oh, so true. Yes, we have a ton of fun beaches here.
Yes.
Actually, our own Morgan says she lives only 7 minutes away from St. Petersburg.
St. Petersburg is a beautiful beach.
Oh, gorgeous.
So beautiful. Okay.
Miss Peggy says Huntington Beach.
Oh, so much of my life, Ray and I, when we were first married, lived in Huntington Beach. It was just fabulous.
Yes. And Ann B says, you know, always the warm side of Florida. That's where she wants to be.
So I was just in Daytona Beach where, one, the water is not warm, even though it was the hottest day in history at Daytona. Yeah, it was 97 degrees that one day we were there.
Yeah.
The beach is not poofy, it's solid, it's compacted. It's not beachy beach. So I could run on the beach every day and not have to worry about, you know, falling into the sand. It was amazing.
Yeah, so nice.
All right, here's my pro tip. Leave your cut pieces on your die board to make it easier to help you keep track of your pieces, okay? Your shapes are gonna be here. So we're gonna start at the top, and I'm gonna lay them on my green mat because I have the gray, okay? So we're gonna start here at the top, and I'm gonna tell you, because I've sewn this a couple of times, that you wanna make sure you lay out your pieces, okay? So here's that corner, that's shape A, and then look how we have the alphabet working for us, okay? So here is shape B, and you're gonna know that you've laid it out correctly because these seams here are gonna match. We're gonna sew these seams right here and press our seams open, okay? And then I'm gonna add, so after B there is C. And we're gonna just sew to this point, okay? Because I really want you to make sure that you're sewing your pieces together correctly, okay? You're also gonna know on your solids that you're sewing the pieces correctly because it's gonna have a flat edge, right? Okay, oh my gosh, I haven't sewed in here for so long, I forgot I had shoes on. Hold, please. All right, Emily, do we have fun beaches that people love to go to?
We sure do. Let's see, our dear Katie says, any beach in Destin.
Destin is a beautiful beach.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful beach.
Miss Christina says Myrtle Beach. That's a pretty one,
I've been to Myrtle Beach.
Me too.
Myrtle Beach is super fun, and it has lots of sand and shells.
Yes, I remember
which
that.
you can totally do.
Yeah, I remember being down.
Like seashells.
I remember being down there and just seeing turtles everywhere. Like, you know, like the logo, they use everything
Yes.
turtle.
Yes.
Which was so cute.
Yeah.
That's how I remember it, Myrtle the turtle.
Oh, that's hilarious. They should totally patent that idea, Emily, if they haven't already.
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they should have that be their mascot.
All right, so while we're doing this, quilters, I'm going to press my seams open. Emily, why are we going to press our seams open?
It's just going to help avoid bulk when those seams kind of come together, when you're sewing your seams together. And it really did make a huge difference when I was piecing this together as well, because it went together like a dream.
Right. And we have these mats, wool mats and irons on our website. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, now because I've sewn that correctly, I can just add my next shape, and look at this. It's going to line right up. So this is such a great chain piecing block, and it goes together super, super fast. And don't forget, if you have questions, you can ask those to Emily as well.
Yes,
not just what's your favorite beach.
Exactly. Yes, let us know.
All right, do we have more beachy places?
We sure do. Miss Carol says Sanibel Beach. I've never been to Sanibel before.
I've never heard of it. Sanibel in Florida?
Oh, I believe that's it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that could be it. Let's see, Miss Cynthia says Panama City Beach.
See?
Gorgeous.
I love it. I should probably say that one of my favorite beaches is Hood Canal, because that's where my brother lives, is right there on the water in Hood Canal. I feel like my sister-in-law, if she's watching the show, she's going to say that. She's going to call me out on that.
Right? Oh, that's funny. We also have New Smyrna Beach, says Louise. I wonder what state that's in.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, if you're going to tell us which beach, tell us what state it's in, please.
Yeah, would love to hear. Okay, Miss Linda, Hampton Beach in New Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
I've never been to New Hampshire. I'd love to go, though.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to go to the beach there. We were talking about that earlier before the show. Okay, wait, here I'm gonna talk. We're gonna create halves, and then we're gonna sew the two halves together, okay? So now we can start building our next half. We were talking about whether A, B, C, D, look at us, knowing how to do some stuff. What constitutes a beach? Like, you know what I mean? The definition of a beach. Because in New Jersey, when I've been to New Jersey, it's the shore. Like there's rocks and stuff there.
Right.
It is not beachy, okay? So here's D, so now we're gonna find E. How are we gonna know that it's right? Because it's gonna be flat on the top,
Yes, exactly.
right? It's gonna come together like this.
Now, when you lay it out, it's so easy. This is why I love how we lay out our blocks before we sew them, too.
Always.
Because when you finally see them kind of together and you can, when it lines up nice and square like that, you know you're doing it right.
Right. And you're going to see how the dog ears are going to line up there.
Exactly.
Okay? So now it's going to allow me to start, and I'm going to sew the next piece here. We're just going to go down. So Emily, while I'm sewing this, the question is, how can the AccuQuilt system help me bust up my stash?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Did you use your stash and your scraps to make your block?
I sure did. Yeah, there are so many fantastic dies with all these different shapes on them, and with depending on like the size of the die, whether you're using any of our cubes, for instance, like between the 4 and then all the way up to the 12. Though you can go down to like what is the 4-inch cube? Isn't it like 1-inch squares or something
squares,
like that?
1-inch finish.
So yeah, there's no such thing as too small of a scrap for AccuQuilt.
Yeah. And a lot of our like our English paper piecing and those.
Yes, they are fabulous, and I love the bob dies just because they, as we demonstrated earlier in the cutter, when you were cutting, it's just so easy to lay out all that fabric and run it through the cutter in one pass, and Bob's your uncle.
There we go. There. Okay, so now I'm going to line up my next orange piece, and I'm just chain piecing, which is how it should always work.
Yes. Okay. Actually, I'd be curious to ask you, Pam. So, Cora and I, we had a sewing day this weekend. Who's another one of the customer experience gals for one of our sister brands, and we were talking about chain piecing for days. So when I typically chain piece, I typically at least 10 pieces in a chain, right? Cora's like, no, I like to do about 4. How many chain pieces would you recommend? Like, do you consider a chain?
Oh, that is really great question. So, like, this is chain piecing, and then because I'm adding to it.
Right.
But I have sewn together half square triangle quilts, like 4.5-inch half square triangle quilts, and done 100 of them.
Yeah, mine were at least like 17 to 20 at a time.
It depends on how you're adding the shapes, right?
That's true. Yeah, we were joking around about it. I said, Cora, that's not a chain. It's not long enough.
That is a great question. Okay, so now look, we're sewing them right, because look, the dog ears line up. It's all perfect. And I think that it's so fun because it helps you. You don't have to keep checking to say, oh, the dog ears aren't there. And, excuse me, we talk about how that saves time.
Exactly.
Back in the day, if you had to cut your dog ears off, that was just more time you wasted that you couldn't be sewing, because you'd sew a seam together and then you'd have to cut off those dog ears, which has nothing to do with puppies, just in case anybody wondered.
Yes, no puppies.
We had a show one time where there was a little kid who was really worried about dog ears.
Right.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Ooh, and we have a couple of questions after.
Yes, you just keep talking. I can talk and sew.
Perfect. Okay. Well, let's see. Jay is wondering, do you always press seams open?
Jay, no, I don't. Here's why, Jay. If I'm just sewing like half square triangles or squares together, I'm gonna press to the dark side so that my seams nest. But most of our bob dies, because they have numerous pieces, I press my seams open. And the reason we do that is because it eliminates that bulk and it allows the seam to settle down. So for example, like right here, if I was just pressing these in one direction, there's just gonna be a lot of bulk right here. And then when I go to sew it together, it's gonna be a lot of bulk. Yeah.
Exactly.
Has nothing to do with music. I can hear Kenyon over there, the One Direction comment. Okay. All right, so now I'm just gonna keep pressing. And look how fast this is going together. I mean, truly, truly, truly. Emily, it didn't take you very long to sew yours together, right?
No, and I still consider myself like a relative beginner, and I think this block took me like maybe 15 minutes max, just because I like to really take my time. But yeah, I mean, the advanced quilters could probably get this done in 5.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really super fast.
It really
And
is.
I'm gonna press right here because we're getting kind of to the end and I want it to lay flat. All right, tell us what beach is your favorite.
Yes.
And tell us, oh, here, let's finish using the alphabet. I do love a good alphabet, okay?
Right.
And I do love these batiks. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty.
Gorgeous.
Okay.
And Connie actually has a question too.
Hi, Connie.
She says, what kind of ink can a person use on the foam without deteriorating it? So like when she wants to, write on
Oh,
the
sure,
die.
sure. I use Sharpies. Whoever makes Sharpies.
Yeah. Kind of.
Nick?
Yeah. I think
right?
I think like the larger tip though is usually a little bit better than like the really pointy ones, though, don't you think? Because you can kind of see it better, and it's not going to
Right.
into that.
It's a little bit. Is it Beck who makes Sharpies? Let's look
Isn't
at
it
the
Sharpie
pen.
brand?
No, what is that? The Incredipen. When Brock co-hosts, there's an Incredipen that he uses. Okay, so look how I'm just adding the shapes. So now I'm adding my lashes too. So E, F, here's the F and G. Okay, so I'm gonna add F to this section, and then I'm gonna press it open and add G.
So easy.
Okay, but yeah, and if I'm doing, so we have 2, can we get an overhead here for 1 second, guys? We have 2, you'll have to ask Emily about this. We have 2 different ways of dyes. So there's the light gray with the dark in the center. There's also the dark gray with the light in the center. So on this, I would use a black Sharpie.
Yeah.
But if it was reverse, oh, look, how serendipitous.
How perfect is that?
Okay, so here's the other one. So on this one, I would use a silver Sharpie to mark my,
Yes.
on my dies.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
you own them, there's no die, please. Nobody's coming to your house to say, hey. So, all right, so I'm gonna sew these. Emily, do you wanna tell them your funny story? You don't have to.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I kind of had a moment there when we were looking at dyes one day, and I said, why are they both, dark on light and light on dark, and they're always different. Why would they do that? And you
Well,
explained
and
to
she
me-
thought because some of them were test dies.
Yeah, exactly. I figured like, okay, maybe they're, were made differently or what have you. But yeah, no, it makes sense that you would use, you'd cut out 2 shapes and then swap the colors and have 2 made so you don't waste anything. But it just totally went over my head when I first started.
It was hilarious. It was truly hilarious because we do have test dies. The lovely Eric and I, we test dies before we launch them to make sure that we cut them correctly, that they cut correctly, that the pattern works. In fact, on this die, we had some suggestions on that. Oh, hold please. There we go. We had some suggestions to separate the colors, right? The background colors from the palm colors. And so we test those dies. So Emily was going to send one out to one of our designers, and she said, I can't send this, it's a test die. And I said, why do you say that? And she goes, well, look, the colors, the inside are one color and out. So it made me laugh. So every time I see one, it makes me laugh when I think of Emily. So they're just the same. They're the same. They're just in different colorways.
Hey, I'm here to make you chuckle. That's at the end of the day, that's my job.
It's your job. It's your job. All right, where are people's favorite beaches? Are they telling us?
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Peggy's is Honolulu, Hawaii.
Oh, okay, Peggy for the win there.
Right? I've never been to Hawaii and that sounds amazing. Oh, Annette went to Oahu, visited some friends. They live on Iwa Beach and says she just absolutely loved it.
So fun fact, there are no private beaches in Hawaii.
Really?
If you live on a beach, you can't say, ooh, this is the Heller Beach, though wouldn't that be lovely? There are no private beaches in Hawaii. They are all public land.
Wow.
You can be cranky at people for being outside your house, but yeah. Okay, so look how I'm doing this. And again, if I were sewing, I love the fact that I'm just sewing a block at a time, right?
Exactly.
So I'm gonna come right here and add to this, and I'm just gonna keep sewing. Okay, so where else besides Hawaii? Ooh. I feel like somebody has to have been to Australia.
Right?
Right, where they have beautiful, beautiful beaches.
Yes, we have, I'm just looking to see here if there are any in Australia.
No, I feel like people are all over the beaches there.
They kind of are. Oh, Donette says, live in Montana, any beach that doesn't have snow.
For sure. We live here in Nebraska. Look at this.
Exactly.
Hold please while I do my...
Well, we'll just keep chit-chatting.
You can just keep chit-chatting.
While we're doing all of that. Let's see here. Ooh, Connie has been to Hawaii's Big Island, and there's several beaches. She can't choose just one. Carrie went to Cancun for her honeymoon. So that was her first beach and ocean 33 years ago. She said it was breathtaking.
Wow. First time at the beach. Okay, so I grew up in Seattle, and I went to college with people who were like, I have never seen the ocean. And I thought that was just amazing.
Wow. Oh my gosh, everybody has to see the ocean at least once in their life.
I mean, pick an ocean. Pick an ocean, go there.
I know in Nebraska, it's kind of like, all right, pick a direction either way. You're halfway between them both.
Yeah, we're just right here in the middle. It's just going to take you a minute to get there, but
Exactly.
Pick an ocean.
Ooh, and we have some questions coming in as well.
All right, good. I'm going to answer your questions while you sew.
So Joanne is wondering if when we press those half blocks, once we have both halves, are we going to press the center seam open as well?
We are.
Excellent.
Yes, keep talking because I'm going to...
Mary's wondering if you back stitch when you chain piece.
Only at the end of the block. Like when I'm sewing the whole big block together, then I do.
Sure. Oh, and Bobby is actually, this is kind of a perfect segue from what we were talking about, marking our dies. She's asking kind of why you would need to when they're already two-toned.
Oh, so do you know the answer to that, Emily?
Yeah, well, I've seen a lot of quilters who will write out the cut measurements in case, they want to just at a glance be able to view the size of, a given shape on a die. Because, you might want to use it for a different project than, for who knows what.
Right.
And so to be able to just take a look at that and glance at it and say, oh, okay, this is a 4.5 by 2.5 cut rectangle, for example. You already have that written down rather than going to look it up. And some people I've seen, and haven't I seen you label your dies too, where it kind of, you give yourself a little bit of space, like kind of that 1/4 inch around the perimeter so you can see where to line up your fabric.
Right, because our dies have a 1/4 inch seam built in, and then we're going to tell you to kind of rough cut around it a 1/4 of an inch.
Exactly.
So a lot of people, Marianne Fontana, one of our experts, she writes on her dies like a 3-year-old. She loves it. She marks everything you could possibly ever want to know about that. And I think that's great. If you want to do that, you bet.
Exactly. The world is your oyster.
Hey, and look at us, like multitasking, trying to get...
Exactly. We're just...
trying to get our little machine. It makes me wish my... Oh, there. Thank you.
Oh, goodness.
Always say thank you.
Oh, and Sandra, so is Sandra correct in thinking this is all straight line sewing and no Y seams?
All straight line sewing and no Y seams, not one.
So nice.
Because why would you have Y seams?
Exactly.
When you can just do it. And this is one of the advantages of just chain piecing, is that straight line stitching is going to go so fast. And then you don't have to have leaders and enders.
Oh my gosh, exactly.
I don't know why my machine was cranky at me, but it was. Okay. Oh, look.
Let's see what other beaches we have.
This is why. This is why it was cranky at me. Hold, please. Oh, see, now look. Now I got to figure out where I am.
That cranky machine.
Right. Now I sewed the whole seam and then it didn't work, right? So I'm just making sure. There we go. All right, tell us, and don't forget if you have questions, we're happy to answer them.
Yes, keep them coming, folks. Oh my gosh, I love this. Corinne says her favorite beach is Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Oh, Hilton Head is beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Actually, my grandparents used to have a house there. They lived there for when they retired. And so that's where my family would go a lot of the time to go visit Grandma and Grandpa with all the cousins. And
oh, how fun.
Beautiful Hilton Head.
The Carolinas are beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
So many beautiful places in this country.
There really, really are.
It's just fabulous. All right, here we go. Look, it finally sewed for me. So now I can press it flat.
Beautiful.
I know. And in honor of the lovely Erica, I might pin it. Okay, and because I sewed a whole seam and it didn't work, I have to do this here real quick.
Look how nice and sharp those points are, too.
I know.
So satisfying.
I know. Gotta love the sharp points. Okay.
Let me check on questions here before I go back to the beach.
Yes. Well, there's words I never thought I'd say out loud.
I
right?
know, right? Let's see. Oh, Chris is wondering, when measuring the 1/4 inch, do I measure to the seam thread or on top of it? Do I measure to the seam thread or on top of it?
Oh, you measure to the seam thread.
Oh, that's okay. Yes. Perfect.
Look, it's almost done.
Ooh, how exciting.
No. Okay, and this is how I know to sew the right one, because then it's making a seam.
Square.
Nice and square. Yes, and I sew with a 1/4 inch foot. I know the lovely Erica sews with a 1/4 inch foot. Emily discovered a 1/4 inch foot. So now she also sews with a 1/4 inch foot.
Now I can actually sew an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance.
Right, and I'm going to tell you that every machine sews a different 1/4 inch, which is when we do the quilt alongs. Erica uses this machine because at her home she has a FOF.
Right.
I sew on my brother, which I have sewn on for decades. Because I know how it works, right? I know the 1/4 inch and such. All right, so now look. You could just be sewing all these blocks together, and they're so fast and easy. If you wanted to, you could sew the lefts all together and then sew the rights all together. You know, you could chain piece them.
Right.
But today I just wanted to show you how fast we could sew a block together. And chat. Chat about the weather.
That's the best. I know, and it's actually like not too well. It's not been too bad this week. I'm kind of actually enjoying the feeling of spring a little bit.
Yeah, don't say those words too loud, Emily. It'll snow.
I know, right?
Last week we had 65 degree. This is a true story. On Tuesday or Wednesday it was 65 and sunny because I went to see those little people, and they were all jumping out on the trampoline. And then on Thursday it snowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my dear friend Tyler has a kayak renting business, and so he has a bunch of kayaks, and his sister was actually saying, you know, hey, let's go kayaking on Saturday, and I was like, okay, yeah, good luck with that, Tyler, and it was 13 degrees that day.
Yeah, super cold. Okay, here we go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line these seams up just like this. So when I go to sew them together, they're gonna be perfect. And I am gonna take my time sewing the halves together as compared to the have-nots. The halves. All right, here we go. All right. All right, Emily, people have beaches yet or questions? Because I feel like this is such a great block. Now I'm going to backstitch. Okay. People ask me when I'm going to backstitch. Now I'm going to backstitch.
Right, make sure it's nice and secure.
Right.
Oh, this is a great question from Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Oh, from Kerrville, Texas. I love Kerrville, you know, being my last name and all. But she says, do you use a shorter stitch length if you are going to press the seams open?
Okay, I never changed the stitch length on my machine ever.
Yeah, same. I've never even tried.
So the answer to that is no, but I would be interested to see if people do.
Right?
I mean, I see why she's asking that question, but I do not. And no is the answer for me.
And Ken and Leslie are asking, what is your preferred pressing method? Do you like doing open or to the dark side?
I prefer to do the dark side because it's just so much faster.
It sure is. I completely agree.
I don't know when it was. Valentine's Day, was that soon? A while ago? Yeah, it's March, right?
Yeah.
Katie from our office, we did a Valentine's show, and Katie came up with this great colorway for the North Carolina Star, speaking of North Carolina.
Oh, I love
And then Eric and I went on the way home and stopped at the fabric store and got fabric. And that one you want to press open, and there's like, I don't know, 36 pieces in a block or something.
Yeah.
And it took a hot minute. Okay? All right. Oh, yes.
Oh boy.
I love it when it works. Okay, look at this. Now, I'm going to press it open on my big iron. Am I going to use steam, Emily?
No, none steam.
Why none steam? Why am I not going to use this?
Because it's going to cause your fabric to stretch and skew.
Yes, it
You'll
is.
be very cranky if that happens.
Oh my gosh, it's going to just pull it right apart. Okay? So I'm going to just give it a little press here so you can see it when I lay it open here. Just give me a second here. This is a great one for our little shovel iron.
It is. It's perfect for the shovel iron.
So I'm not going to press it open yet because I want to do it on my big machine, but look at how pretty that is. Now, for this project that Gina Jumpasaw designed, and she's fabulous, it has sashing and cornerstones. So let me show you. All right. The blocks are turned, oh, here. Hold, please. Okay, so normally the blocks would be like this, right? So the blocks are turned on point. She has sashing, so she's used the 1.5 inch, I assume it finishes to 1 inch strip die. She made the cornerstones, and then look, she had 8-inch setting triangles.
Oh, yeah.
And that way the whole quilt can be set on point. And I love it because this is like a medallion right here in the center. And then these are just the half blocks.
Yeah, that's
okay. So I love the fact that it's different. She used batiks and she used that gray background, which I think is just stunning. But we have this great program called Go Quilt that you could use. It totally changed up the colorway of all of your projects. It's a free tool at the AccuQuilt website. All right, quilters, you want to follow the pattern to lay out your blocks. Finish the project by adding batting between the top and the backing. Pin or baste and quilt as desired. This would be a great project to just quilt on your domestic machine. And don't forget to add your favorite binding method. When you're done, be sure and share your projects with us on all of our social media platforms.
Pam, wait.
All right, Erica, what are you doing?
We have to talk.
What's, sweetie? We're just almost doing the show.
I know, but look here. We need to talk about the quilt-along.
Oh, yes, we do. Okay, here, hold on.
We promised everyone that we were going to talk about the second of our 5 AccuQuilt quilt-alongs that are coming up this year.
Yes.
Because it starts on April 5th. Quilters need time to get their fabric, right?
So many. And that's like in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. All right.
Okay.
So first of all, we're using the Go Log Cabin die, and we're making the
Go Scrappy Star Log Cabin Quilt.
right? All right, now, here is my block. I love that I have my fabric here. And here is the lovely Erica's block.
There we go.
Okay, now, a couple of things. We both chose the background to be the same color, like
Yes.
Erica's background, and then the color logs to be scrappy.
And that's how the pattern's designed.
That's how the pattern's designed. Also, Erica, tell them how big the block is on the pattern.
Okay, so this, you know, one of the things that I really love about our Go Log Cabin die is the flexibility.
Yes.
So you can make large blocks, you can make small blocks. Now the pattern actually calls for an 11-inch block, which is what I've made
what
here.
Erica made.
Pam is going a little rogue. I know that's shocking to everyone, but she's going a little rogue, and she is using all of the logs, if you will, and building a 12-inch log cabin.
Right.
So mine is going to match the pattern. Pam is going to go off a little bit on a tangent, but she promises when the project's over, she's going to write that pattern as well.
And I'm actually adding more blocks. So you have 16.
Yes.
Is that right? Finished blocks. And I'm actually going to make 24 blocks. So I had in my stash half-yard cuts
Right.
of 24 different batiks.
Well, there you go.
There you go. But you followed the pattern.
I
and
followed
how
the
much
pattern.
yardage did you get?
I believe I got
2/3
2/3 of a yard. Yeah.
We were together.
We were together. But here's the really cool thing that I think everybody's going to love about this quilt along, right?
Right.
You've got 3 different ways that you can make this project.
Right.
You can use the Go Log Cabin die, which is definitely what Pam and I are going to do.
Oh, for sure.
But you could also use the Go 1.5-inch strip die that finishes at 1 inch, because that's the same width as
Same
our
height.
logs, some height, as our little logs here. Or you could rotary cut the whole thing.
Right.
So if you check out the blog that I wrote introducing it today, or the AQS blog introducing it, you're going to find the directions for those alternate cutting methods in there.
Now, you should know, quilters, I use the Go Log Cabin die.
Yes.
And I cut half of my pieces because we have a show, I have to cut some.
Right.
Half of my pieces in the background and the colors using those half-yard cuts in less than 30 minutes.
Right. Yeah,
Less than 30 minutes.
we had to get a little bit of a head start because you all
Right.
quilt fast.
Right. And if you want to know and check out our progress, you can join, what is the Facebook
It's the
page?
AQS Quilting Project Parade Facebook group. And
Right.
I really encourage everybody to join that Facebook group. Use hashtag AQSews when you
Yes.
post your pictures. That way everybody can see what you're up to.
Yep.
We can take from each, we can be inspired by each other. We had such a good time.
With Stars in the Crown.
Pam and I are going to be jumping on and answering questions and taking a look at what everybody's doing.
Yes.
But again, we're going to start this project and in actual cutting on Wednesday, April 5th,
Right.
12 noon Central Time, of course.
Right, so just in 2 weeks. So we wanted to give you enough time to make sure you got your fabric, you
Right.
downloaded the pattern, it's a free pattern
Right.
from AccuQuilt.com. You may want to start in your sewing stash, because that's where I found
Yeah.
my
Shop your
batiks.
stash.
Shop your stash, and if not, then you can go to a fabric store, which also is very
And is
fun.
also very fun,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So don't forget, April 5th, 12 noon Central Time, Erica's gonna join me. We're gonna
Yep.
take over Wednesdays again.
Yep.
We had a great time with Stars in the Crown, but be sure and start on Log Cabin. And and speaking of AQS, because that's who
Yes.
we've partnered with for this, are you headed to the AQS Branson show? I have a meet and greet there on Thursday from 11 to noon, which means I got to leave like right now because I am driving right now
Okay.
to Branson. So I will be there 11 to noon tomorrow at the Be So In booth. So will you close the show for me? I'm going to leave.
Sure, I can do that.
See you later.
Well, I'm sure glad I came in. All right, well, since Pam's left us and headed off to Branson to see all of you, Emily, let's go ahead and announce the winner today.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. If I could get a drum roll, please, Maestro. The winner is Melinda C. of Alton, Virginia. Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Melinda.
I wonder if Alton is near a beach.
I hope so.
Just in keeping with today's theme. All right, be sure you check out AccuQuilt's website for some great deals today. This month's die to try, remember, is this Go Palm that we had so much fun with today. It's only available until the end of the month or while supplies last, so be sure to get yours. On behalf of everybody that's here in the Dream Studio and myself and the absent Miss Pam, who's run off to AQS Branson, we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching. To learn more about your quilting craft, be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for live events every Tuesday and Wednesday. You can check out the events page on the AccuQuilt website for more details on upcoming shows. And if you're looking for even more inspiration, visit our blog for exclusive tutorials filled with tips and tricks. And remember, at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time so you can quilt more.
Join us Tuesday, March 28th, as we share quilting project ideas for special occasions with a fun and inspiring trunk show. And be sure to join us next week for AccuQuilt Live as we partner with Quilts of Valor to show you how to cut and sew a donation block using the Go Mix and Match 8-inch cube. Be sure to register for all of our events for a chance to win prizes.